everybody, and welcome to Key Culture Podcast. This is Matei Gheorghiu, and as usual, our co-host
Niilo Tarnanen.
Hi, Niilo. And today we have two orchestra musicians. We have Hannaliisa Pitkäpaasi.
Hey.
And Nicolas Indermühle.
Hey.
I pronounce your name correctly, right?
Yes.
All right. And Hannaliisa is a second concertmaster of Lahti Symphony Orchestra, and Nicolas is a tuba player who plays at the Turku Philharmonic Orchestra. And Nicolas is from Switzerland, and he moved here to Finland some years ago, I think. And well, you can find out more about them from the links in our video description. For the small introduction, I would say that, as for some of you who have watched our previous episodes, we have already had two orchestra musicians from the Radio Symphony Orchestra, but considering that the Radio Symphony Orchestra has such a special situation that they have all the equipment set up for recording all the time, for them it's very easy to record their concerts, and they have, since they're part of the broadcasting company, they have everything online, and people can access the recordings of everything they do easily. That's not the same situation for every other orchestra. So now we have two people who have permanent jobs at other orchestras in Finland, one from Lahti, one from Turku. So we want to hear the perspectives of such musicians as well. All right. Now, after having said that, let's go directly to the questions very, very briefly. If you guys can say, how was your professional life before the COVID pandemic started? And how could you describe a typical day of work or during a week, a typical week normally? Let's start with Hannaliisa.
Life was certainly different. The biggest thing that changed was, of course, like not going anywhere abroad. Like I've been doing some, not much, but some whatever different kind of gigs and stuff, for instance, in Sweden or elsewhere. And I mean, really, we're not talking about a lot, but still all that kind of thing was cut off immediately, of course. And then if normally there's actually no such thing as a normal week for us, I think it feels like it's like regular, but not really. But maybe it would be from Monday to Thursday or Friday, and then the rehearsals would be from 10 to 2, and the concert day would be with a dress rehearsal and then the concert. So now it might begin on Tuesday evening, and then we would do the same thing, but squeezed in 72 hours, or depending where the conductors and soloists are coming from, and then the constant staying alert, like you never know what's going to happen. Also that, but yeah, basically that's it, I guess.
How about for Nicolas?
Yes, I think it's, although the timetables are all the time a bit changing, there is that kind of routine, the rehearsals from Monday or Tuesday, and then the 1 or 2 concerts a week, and then all the small additional chamber gigs and that kind of stuff. And of course, when the cut came in March, it was like really brutal, because we were just at home. Suddenly there was no anymore going to the orchestra rehearsals and all of that. And of course we needed to record chamber music and all of that. And this was a very hectic time, because we had gig people making the videos and all this. So it was a very tight schedule and so on. And it was a brutal cut, but of course we learned to live.
Wait a minute. So when the pandemic hit first, how was it? You stayed home, or how
when
was
we
it?
had we were supposed to have a concert on that very day, and it was decided that it will come towards the live concert on the internet, because we have our own streaming system anyways in Turku. Of course, we don't have the people working for that. They are not like all the time. They come like we go for gigs in some other orchestra. So of course it needs someone which is knowing the music and who can say which camera needs to film what, and then the one dude that is setting all of that and etc. So it's making a stream in our city. I think it's using maybe four people, 5 people maybe. So I don't know how they manage, but anyways, it was some Dvorak symphony, and it was just decided by the office that we will play in front of an empty hall. And after that, of course, it was said that all the concerts for the whole spring are cancelled. And then the management told us that we must make some chamber music recordings that came instead of the normal work. And we started with our own chamber series, because we had our own chamber series, 4 or 5 concerts per half year. So we recorded them first, and I was playing one trio with accordion and trombone, which it's still possible to find in the TFO webpage. And after that, we put up a brass quintet, and string players made string quartets and all kinds of stuff, and we recorded that in a very fast pace.
So that was instead of having the normal orchestra concerts that happen once a week, right?
Yes.
And that took for how long?
Was it 1 month, 1.5 months? And after that, in Turku, they shifted our summer holidays earlier, and then we started to work in August. And in August, we had lots of we have jalkautuminen. It's like making small groups that go towards the city and play everywhere. And I made also a sairaala muusikko. Who can translate that?
Hospital music.
Yes. So I made that kind of a course. It was a 3-day. And then I went play to vanhakoti. I don't know how it is in English.
Yes, elderly home. Yeah.
Yes, so I had some concerts in that kind of places, and of course because of Corona I couldn't necessarily go in, so I was playing from the piha. But still,
right.
It's doing good.
I was actually thinking while you were saying it, like, how is it that you cannot have concerts in the concert hall, but you're gonna go to have concerts in an elderly house?
Yes, of course you must put your name and your name on, and people are keeping like a very big space and very small groups, so not 20 people at the time, but 2 people at the time, and then you talk and then you play music if they have wishes, and if they don't, then you just play what you like, and if they don't like it, then you change. Of course, it's a
Niilo, go ahead.
There was many things to kind of to go on this, what you already mentioned. I would just like to check if I got correctly Hannaliisa's point about that you described that there might be some changes to the weekly schedule. So if whether you were referring to kind of the normal situation before the pandemic, that there was this kind of possibility of changes in the week routine every week even then, or was it just something that came because of the pandemic?
No, the situation before, I mean, the only thing what I meant was that our timetables are anyway often a little bit different from week to week. But it's not like, it's nothing that would change within the week or 1 week before the week. I mean, it's just a very normal thing what we do all the time. It's just that sometimes we have the same concert twice, or sometimes the first concert is on Wednesday in Hämeenlinna, and sometimes we have the Sibelius Festival, and suddenly it's, I mean, we can have weeks that are 4 days long or 6 days long, but it's like, that's normal for us.
Sure.
And yeah, but Yeah,
but you get to know it in advance at least.
Yeah,
like what's
sure.
the schedule for a couple of coming months or so?
Yeah. This is
Okay,
all basically. There are quite little any changes. Like, I mean, we get the schedule before the season begins. Normally, in the end of the previous season, and yeah. But I was just thinking. I was trying to describe what it was when it was still normal, and then what it is now, which is sort of as stable as it can be. It's been this far, this autumn for us. But actually the very beginning of this Corona thing was pretty interesting. I mean, it was everywhere, but for us it was about, first of all, we were quarantined for 2 weeks or whatever it was. Like, because the very last normal week we had, there was one player who actually caught Corona.
Okay.
And and then nobody else got sick, thankfully. But then there was the challenge to then our office was probably working like 76 hours per day just to try to figure out what to do next. And also our hall, the main hall, was planned to get renovated. So this was supposed to even start anyway very soon. Plus then the Uusimaa got these restrictions, like you couldn't anymore move normally. And
yeah, the Helsinki area got restricted. Yeah.
So also the two chamber music groups who play with have members from Helsinki. So we had, in the end, we had like 1 day time to record everything we could in the main hall, like make these high quality videos. Like the day after, the first day we were back to freedom, we went there and did everything we could. And then we started improvising, like big time, bigger time than ever. But it was, yeah, the very...
What does improvising mean? You started playing arrangements of very easy pieces or what? Like, so that you feel that, or I don't know.
Well, we took
chamber music or...
Yeah, all the chamber music that we did was, of course, something, especially at the beginning, it was something we already had done before. I mean, it had to be something previously prepared, because you can't just take something and make it happen in a week.
Yeah, no, that's what I meant, like easy pieces, because I would assume
well,
that...
not easy.
Okay.
But as well prepared as possible.
Yeah.
Put it this way. And then, of course, we had these meetings for the whole community. I mean, our work, like everybody, not only the office, but all musicians, we were collecting ideas what to do and how to continue. Someone had the brilliant idea to make the Finlandia video recording that then finally went viral and got mentioned in The Guardian and stuff. And somehow people needed it one more time.
Right.
Yeah, I remember that video coming out. It was really actually nice to have something happening on the time when everything seems to be kind of just dead and silent. Yeah, it sounds that actually in Lahti you had many kind of reasons why this happened in a really bad time, and in a really bad place. I mean that the renovation was about to come and limit your possibilities to do good recordings, and then of course it's quite natural because Helsinki and Lahti are so near. So if Helsinki gets restricted, you might lose many musicians. You were describing about the chamber ensemble, but how about in the orchestra? I guess there must be people who live in Helsinki also. In
1/3 of us or something like that.
Yeah, so it must have been
shouldn't be a
difficult
trouble.
times.
In Turku as well, we had people from Helsinki, and in the office they immediately managed that if you have a työlupa, working permission, then you can go. But of course for the office people it's a huge amount of extra work, and I think the office, at least in Turku, there is not too many people there, let's say so.
And I guess they had a couple of other things to think simultaneously also,
Yes.
when everything was just and you had to think it again.
Yeah, about this työlupa work permission thing, yes, that was there, but I think there are so many people commuting all the time from Lahti to Helsinki and the other way around. So for us, basically, it seemed at the beginning that it's not possible really to make it in, like maybe for, I don't know, some very special cases, but in general, for us musicians, it was just, we stayed where we were. Yeah.
I wanted to ask very briefly, because you said, Nicolas, that you were pretty much at home at some point, and you guys in Lahti were quarantined for 2 weeks, like, and you had to end the season early in Turku. Like, did this affect you financially in any way? Did the salaries change or not, or how has it been? How about Nicolas?
Of course, I'm employed by the city, so it thankfully it did stay like this, and now the office, and still till now it has stayed, but the management people, like the bosses, they have salary cut now in December, the whole Turku city, and of course we are the next then on the list. They took from the boss first because it affects probably less people than all the employee. But of course then next to the orchestra, I was having many chamber project and also some bigger gigs, old music gigs and etc. And all of this was cutted. So in a way, it did affect the salary, but not in a catastrophic way that there wouldn't be anything anymore. So it's
right.
So that the effect came more about the freelance gigs and not that much from the Okay.
How about Hannaliisa?
We were very lucky. Also, of course, it's thanks to our office and thanks to the people who work in Lahti. It's like, in general, in politics, we're doing very well. I mean, the relations are very good and we're taken care of. So yes, there were some negotiations about laying off some people here in Lahti city, but already during the spring. But for us, it didn't happen yet. Then of course it's about following, like, or just seeing what's going to happen, and it could still happen, I don't know, but at the moment, like it is, we're doing fine. Also, we did our season like it was supposed to be originally. Like we didn't start our summer holiday early. So.
How about now? I mean, both of you described quite a bit already about how the immediate cut came when the lockdown started in March. But how about now in the autumn during the second wave? Has it been different? Are you just using more of the safety distances or some other safety measures, or are there still big changes to how the orchestra works otherwise?
Of course, everything went cut down in matter of size because the stage in the hall is small, so we did put the stage extensions to 2 meter wide boards that are put in front of the stage that we use when we play like really big stuff usually. So we use that, and the turvavälit, what is it in English?
I don't know. The
whatever
safety distance.
Yes, safety distance must be held also on stage when we play. So the immediate impact is that I don't know the numbers, but probably more than 50 people is not possible on our stage. So all the program are downsided a lot. We had big Shostakovich and Wagner Ring and that kind of stuff to play. Like, of course, everything went cut down. We try to organize a program in an artistic way that it stays the same or in the same direction than what was supposed to be played. But so there is a lot of sinfonietta and not much work for me. But somehow
I was going to ask actually how does that affect you personally, because I guess mostly tuba is only called for when there are these bigger romantic scores or more modern scores, which typically have real large orchestras. So what do you do now? Like,
I'm gladfully I'm in the artistic committee, and I'm quite active. So I did manage to put brass pieces quite a lot. We had the new fanfare by Olli Mustonen, and then we played Hindemith Opus 50, which is the concert music for strings and brass. And then we had the Tomasi fanfare liturgique. This is for brass ensemble. And of course, we had some Viihdekonsertti, whatever this is in English, the entertainment concerts.
By the way, you're the first Swiss person that I've ever met to not remember how things are said in English, but you remember how they're said in Finnish. That's impressive.
You know, I learned English in Finland.
Okay.
So of course, it's very, like, for this half season till December, there has been like too few working weeks, and gladfully I was not cut down or just taken off salary or anything. But then for the spring, it's looking a bit better because, of course, our chief conductor, or artistic director, Olli Mustonen, has noticed that the brass is quite good in Turku, so he likes to program us more. So now almost every week there is something with brass, either arrangements for special weeks like in the church or so, Bruckner motets, that kind of stuff, or then again Hindemith chamber brass stuff and etc. So it's looking not too bad, and I'm a bit optimistic now for this next half season.
Sounds like that the program is getting more diverse, that because of this, that you don't play only these, pieces from Beethoven and so on that everybody would be playing otherwise. How about for Hannaliisa?
And
how is it now in the autumn? Or do you know what's coming on the spring?
Well, we were told that we would try to go as planned as long as we can, but of course then it has been also partly replanned. I was very surprised that we actually managed to have our Sibelius festival even, and also yes, we are using the extensions on our stage, and because we are not a very big orchestra anyway, so, and for instance, there's string sections are reduced a little bit, which sound very big. So we fit in, and we can play even not big, very big things, but for us pretty normal, I would say. And then of course all the normal safety measures, and also backstage, and our own pens and erasers, and I don't know. I mean, we try to think about everything.
So it sounds that in Lahti, you haven't made that big changes to the program or the repertoire of the whole.
Well, I have to say that now it would be lovely to let our manager answer.
Okay.
but we've been trying to make it as normal as possible, and also because we are not so many, we still work as a whole orchestra, not as, for instance, we're not shared as two small ones. So this alone already makes it possible for us to try to stick to what was planned.
Sure.
Yes. Yeah.
About the Sibelius Festival, I would be curious to ask. If I remember correctly, it was in the beginning of the autumn, like August, September-ish.
Well, yes, this year it was a little bit later because of the hall and the renovation, but
okay, but still, I think it might have been kind of gained from the point that kind of the second wave hadn't yet hit fully that time, but you know, it was still quite chilly time in Finland.
Yes, and it was also that week when we were already rehearsing that there was again some kind of meeting going on in Helsinki, somewhere ministers talking about stuff, and I was sort of wondering like if this is still going to be cancelled, but no, obviously it was still a bit interesting. Like that festival is sold very well in advance, so also to see like how many people actually really turn up, like how many just bought their tickets and then just won't show up at all, but I mean from the audience, but yeah, they were pretty well sold then. I mean, under the circumstances, which means every third seat.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. I think it's a bit less limited than for example in Helsinki. I think here it's like every fourth or every fifth seat that is used. Okay, maybe time to go on. Matei, are you about to?
Yes. I was going to ask, compared to the Radio Symphony Orchestra, which has very good equipment, they're supposed to like record very often anyway, and they have Yle Arena, which provides a good platform for people to go there and listen. And the two musicians that we had did explain to us that their views have increased, and let's say they have gained financially from what they could offer online. But I'm not sure if every orchestra has a very popular engine or machine as Yle Arena to have their listeners keep going there and accessing the online concert. So how has that been working for your orchestra? Can you say that, Hannaliisa?
Well, it's not Yle Arena, but Lahti Symphony Orchestra started recording or video recordings, or how do you say? I mean, not streaming, but putting videos on classiclife.com already 2007, which was actually before the Berlin Philharmonic started their own thing. And so that's been going on all the time. And I think now it's just we record almost every concert. But it's very light. It's not, well, it's been, I don't know how many cameras at the moment, but yeah, but still it's, yeah, we are used to having that thing going on. So
has that increased significantly or not? Have the viewerships there increased significantly?
There was a peak during the spring, and then I don't know how much, where did it then, how much did it come down from that? Should check the numbers, but
okay.
These things are there. And then of course, well, when we were doing these chamber music videos, then there was no audience at all, so then the cameras will be on stage.
But I mean, so you have that platform, which I assume is popular, but do you stream them also on your website, or how does it
No,
or
this is it. And then, well, then we
this is it. Okay.
This is when it comes to this official concert recordings, it's the Classic Life. Then we started producing a lot of content just for, I mean, social media, and then that would be a completely different story, but
right,
that you can find on our sites. Yeah. Channel.
How about for Turku Philharmonic?
We have live streaming concerts, and it has been, I don't remember that already when I got the position, there was that kind of stuff, but it was another system, and now it's on our own website, the streaming, and I have heard that the viewer has been increasing a lot in spring, but I don't know about the situation now. It's in the office, they know, but I have no idea. But of course, I think that somehow people, it's not enough the streaming on the computer or the TV or whatever. The sound quality, some of them can really notice it. And then at least I did talk with some people from the village that used to come to the concert but don't come anymore. because they are scared of that thing. They are older people and so on. And they say that it's not just about the music, you know. Going to the concert is going to the concert, is like the number one thing in the week. You go there, you take some drinks, and you see friends that you see only at the concert.
It's a social event.
Yes, the same lady on the right has been sitting for 25 years. And you know, this is what it is about. It's not only just going for listening this Bruckner symphony or so. Of course, they go for the music, but they miss that, so they don't really listen to this stream.
Because you know, one thing that I was thinking also after talking with Kaisa and Jerry last time, I think it's great that we have the possibility to have the online concerts and the live streams and so on. But if I'm sitting in my chair in Lahti at home and I cannot go to a concert, and I'm thinking, I really this is that time of the week when I was supposed to go to a concert. Hey, let's go to some live stream. The question is, why would I go to Lahti Symphony Orchestra live stream or whatever recording they have, when I can just put YouTube and hear this played with Bernstein 30 years ago, or I can go to Berlin Philharmonic, or I can go to Australia, or like the point I'm trying to make is that when you're in a city, you go to that orchestra because you live there, and that's the life experience, which is unique. But when you have the online possibility, you already have the whole world open to you. And it's not the same thing, and maybe you don't want to stick with the orchestra that you're used to going to.
Or maybe in the end, you get frustrated about the multiplicity of the possible choices, that and then you just end up being in Facebook and reading stupid memes.
Nicolas.
At least in Turku, people are proud of the orchestra and the musician. They don't care about Berlin, Helsinki, or whatever. People in Turku, they want to listen to the Turku Philharmonic. Okay. Believe it or not. And don't laugh, please. This is rude.
You mean the laughing is rude or the reality is rude?
No, the laughing is rude. I mean, this is how it is. People want to listen to the Turku Philharmonic musicians in Turku. Okay. And I think it is the same in Lahti. And I think that the multiple amount of stream is so huge that at the end, if the going to the concert is the how do you say, the cultural event and social event of the week, it doesn't really matter who is playing, because you are not going to listen to that symphony with Vienna and Bernstein in the whatever year it was, or this specific recording. I think it's more a thing about a very small % of people that are doing that, and a big % of these are musicians, and some, I don't know, probably there is some people that do only listen recordings. I don't know about that.
I was giving an example. I didn't just to make sure everybody understands. I'm not saying that Lahti is not as good as other orchestra or Turku, but I was just giving an example that now the offer is for everybody. If I don't have to choose to go to an orchestra concert, I'm not gonna have the drinks there. I'm not gonna see my friends there. I'm not gonna wear my tuxedo or something, and I'm not gonna see the lady that has been sitting there for 25 years. So then why not choose something else? And
but I think the question is actually really illuminating that is brought out that Nicolas said about the social side of the phenomenon. Hannaliisa had a hand raised. Do you have something to add to this, or some completely different point of view?
There was some. Well, first of all, one thing, and I really don't know how much this then applies to our audience, and if this is just a musician brain thing. But for me personally, it would be maybe interesting to go to see Lahti stream. Just I mean, from this era, to see how it works when it's not the same than it was before. Like when we actually have these individual stands, everyone, and with a lot of distance between musicians, and like how does it alter everything? This is, I think, alone would be interesting. Also, maybe not now, but at some point I felt like I didn't really want to see a video that was made before, because that would be the normal, and then you would remember how it was, and it was a little bit too painful, maybe. I mean, it's like, yeah, let's just live the moment and try to make the best out of it.
Yes, interesting. Have you noticed some difference about in the musical result? I mean, now when all the strings have individual desks and so on, to explain to some of the audience who maybe are not so familiar with it, normally in orchestra, the string players play so that there are always two musicians sharing the same sheet music in one music desk, whereas the wind players and percussion players use always their own desks. So yeah, interesting. Have you noticed anything about it, Hannaliisa?
Well, yeah, sure. One change, which also makes it possible for us in Lahti to actually play as a whole orchestra, is that we don't have any extra podiums on the stage, like for the back desks or, you know, around, like for winds or the brass. They would normally be standing, not standing, I mean, they would have their something there to
raise them up.
Raised stage. I don't know. Whatever.
You mean that the podiums are movable, that they are not fixed? Yeah.
Yes, but now it's all even. So then the safety distance stuff can be done like it is. And it means that the distances are pretty huge. So for instance, our brass or the wind section, I think for them, it's not so much about chamber music, but also very much about trying to catch the beat exactly like the visual stuff. And because then also, like, you can hear a lot. You'd never know where the sound is actually coming from. You can't really trust everything what you hear. Then of course it's very, I mean, for me, it's very easy because I am somewhat there in the middle, and it's very easy for me also to see the conductor, and it brings challenges. Also, I think in some ways at times it's been good because it even makes it more important that we are really doing the chamber music as an orchestra. And then
with that you mean practically what? You mean that you follow each other more than normally, or
like you actually communicate around you also, not just, you know, have your own side. And normally there's the conductor and maybe you're the leader of the section, but I personally really love it when it becomes the chamber music thing, and we're trying to do that. But of course, it is a little bit challenging. And
so you mean that that when you don't have somebody just besides you, but everybody is a bit further from you, your attention is drawn more to kind of to many places where people are playing their own parts, and not that much just to what your kind of desk friend is playing and what the conductor is doing. Do I get it right?
Yeah, maybe I should now just say that, of course, in the so-called normal world, we would never ever sing in our own little worlds and just do what we do. Actually, we really try to communicate with everybody, but it is different when
I think you're just
when you are alone.
I think you're just trying to say that if I'm getting it right, that it's just a different experience, that when you're in chamber music, you're communicating as in a family, let's say, whereas in an orchestra, you're communicating as this big apparatus, and you're more part of your section, and you're supposed to follow the conductor, but now you're supposed to, you know, like make everything happen.
Now you're also supposed to follow the conductor really, really, very, very concentratedly all the time, and there's not so much space for the, I think, which is very normal, and there's a lot of variety in this, but like if you hear yourself as an orchestra somewhat normally, and then that would mean that you are more like close, a smaller group, like that is without these distances. Then there are times when the conductor does things and you are not maybe reacting so that your sound starts sounding exactly when the beat is hitting the bottom. But there is this, still you are having your own pulse together and some kind of wave happens, and it's still one big organism. I think now there is, at least in our hall, I believe this can be very different. For instance, when our orchestra goes to Hämeenlinna, Verkatehdas, then they have this hall there, and it's really dry on the stage. So even with these distances and safety measures, it's still much easier than to trust your ears as well. But in Lahti, with these really good acoustics, it also brings some challenges for us. Like, then it has to be a little more like, or you have to be a little bit extra brave to reach the wave, I would say. We still do it, but it happens also more easily that you have to just start scanning all possible signs about what you could do next.
So kind of the acoustic landscape is really different now compared to what it used to be. Yes. And this makes that you are kind of aware of the situation has changed. Really interesting. Yeah. I was just curious to ask about Nicola, about how does all of this sound from the point of a tuba player. Has anything changed from that perspective? But I don't know if Hannaliisa has first something to add.
No, I can. The only thing I was going to say was that for us violins, it probably hasn't changed as much, even though our leaders really sit alone in the first row, like closest to the conductor, and I think they feel pretty alone. I'm also going to experience that myself soon. Still, we are there and we can see each other pretty well. But then I can hear the trumpet also pretty well, and I'm very sure that they can't hear us. Like, and also very often now, without the podium, they can't see us either. So I think it's a very different story for our brass, for instance.
Okay, what can you say from the brass point of view, Nicolas?
Well, it's not the brass
Anything
point
in your
of view.
defense?
It's how it is in Turku. The hall is not planned for having the kind of orchestra like before Corona. So in an acoustic way, it's a catastrophe. It's very difficult. You must not trust your ears, and you must play with the conductor. If you trust your ears, then it feels good there where you sit, but the result for the audience is not that good. I have experienced many times that the conductor says, "Hey tuba, I cannot hear anything, play louder," and then if I get a bit
you never really hear that anyway. Let's point that out. Like,
yes,
tuba, louder, tuba.
So I start to play like really loud because he asked, and then it's even written in the newspaper that who can be angry when the tuba player is playing loud. So this said, the situation, because we have this movable koroket, the whatever the thing where we sit on, so that we are higher and we can actually see the conductor. It's movable.
Yeah, the moving podiums, let's say.
Yes, they have been. We have a extensible kind of. It's like a puzzle, so we can have it wider or more turned or more straight, and so it's now everything is in use, and also the old one, so that we can have the safety distance if we play, for example, 3 trumpets, 3 trombones, and tuba, so we are all on the same level and so on. And of course I'm missing a bit the contact with the basses, because in a normal way I'm sitting like really close to the basses because of the setting of how the hall is. We cannot be behind the wood and in front of percussion, but we are like on the side. It has always been like that as long as I have been in Turku, and because of that I'm usually like extremely close from the basses. I can really hear how they play, what they play. So I have very good contact now. Of course, it's almost not being this contact, but it doesn't change that in Turku we must play with the conductor, because if we don't, then it's just a
mess.
Yes, but of course I was expecting more difficulties to have the good work with the trombone section or so. but it has been less difficult than what I thought. I guess we just got used to it really fast because after all, it's our job. I have been playing together with trombones for many, many years, and the fact that they are just now more far away, it's new and we must get used to it. As long as this pandemic is going on and we don't get back to the normal situation, we must get used to it. And then you just get used to it. That's how it is.
Yes, yes.
I don't know how to explain it better.
Believe us as teachers, we understand very well what it means that you just do it.
We don't hear anything anymore. We just hear our own voice, and then we're just thinking, what are the students actually doing? Are they doing anything?
Yeah.
Hannaliisa
had a point.
Yeah, maybe this is still the same topic, but I wanted to say that actually I also feel that these desks, what we have in the string sections are, I don't know, dare I say, old-fashioned thing, historical stuff.
Yes.
And I would believe that someday in the future, we are going to use pads instead of paper, sheet music, like physically playing, having your own stand. You can actually adjust your own position so much better. Like in these desks, you very often have these kind of weird situations where you sit like this and you should actually play like there, and then your stand is there, and then your conductor is there, and then it's, I don't know. My vision is pretty good still, but especially for the people who can't see or have these different kind of glasses, it's about millimeters if they actually see what's happening.
Isn't it also challenging that with the pad you could get into the you have to press with your foot, I guess. You don't have time to like swipe during the concert, so you have to press with your foot to turn the next page. And with the technology, there's always the risk that something could, just not work.
I don't have a pad myself yet. I'm doing it with just some extra stuff, helping my, like, finding the little breaks when I can actually turn the page. Then some people in our orchestra have their own ones and never had any problems with them. There are some very famous string quartets and other people who use pads and have been using them for years already now.
Okay.
Without any problems. So I don't think that will be a problem. Then it's a different thing. Like, I actually like paper myself, but to me, I think it seems obvious that we are going to use pads someday, sooner or later. So, but the point was just that it's, you can actually play as a tightrope, but still have your own stand, and it allows you to play and really give the best of your skills. Like, you can actually play as well as possible. Also, probably it will save you from a lot of pain and many physiotherapist appointments. There are still many, but it's so much better when you can actually do more about, like, in what position. But this is only my own opinion, but I think I'm right here.
No, it's an interesting thing to talk about. We never talk about something like that. So.
I think, it's really good that you brought this up, because even if I have many times seen an orchestra performances, like, how can the violinist really play like this, that the one is looking there, one is looking there, and then they should be looking there, and then their music is there, and their violin is there, and how are they really doing it? I think I never thought it as deeply as during what you just described. Interesting.
But this would take us to actually my next question, which would be about the online concerts themselves, since we're at the technology discussion. I mean, it's great we can have them, but does, in your opinion, we have been asking this from all our guests, by the way. This is one of those 2, 3, 4 questions that we ask almost everybody. Does it work? Does it really do it for you? I mean, do you think online concerts can be a good substitute for live concerts or not? How about Nicola?
Well, it depends of the point of view. If you think that it's no concert or an online concert, then of course online concert is better than no concert. It also depends on, if taking away all the social and all this aspect of going to the concert, what are you expecting as a auditor when you go to the concert? To me, one big thing in the music, it's not the rhythm or the harmony or the phrasing or that, but it's the sound colors. It's how rich, how different some musicians can play, you know, more dark, more bright, or using different articulation qualities, and all these aspects. It's a very important thing in the music, because it depends so much of the conductor. Because if the conductor is conducting in a certain way, as a brass player, if I aim to go with the conductor, it's very difficult to play in a different way than what the conductor is asking. So this said, if I, for my own point of view, the fact of like hearing the real sound of the orchestra, not the sound of the orchestra that has been recorded with microphones that are more or less compressing, and now a small brackets. I have, in that Corona time, I have learned a bit. I have my own recording equipment, and I have been testing what is changed the direction of playing with the microphone. What does it change if the microphone is here and I play here, 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 or here, and then if it's more behind the microphone or more in the front, and all this, it has a huge impact on how it sounds in my headphones. So if there is like 70 musicians, and you know, as a tuba player, they always put the microphone for the tuba, and I don't know if they use it, because in the Turku hall, the tuba sounds like a lot. So they put the microphone, and sometimes I just look at it and I think, how is this thing supposed to work like this? Of course, I don't comment because it's not my job. My job is just to play the tuba, but I'm just thinking that the technology allows now, there is, of course, very good quality microphones and etc. But the way how it is directed towards all the different instruments and so on, and there is so many people on stage, like 70 or 80 people, and then you record all of that. Like, how much of this sound color and preciseness can you get in a recording? And then when you consider that it goes through the internet somewhere, and then it comes to headphones or to the loudspeaker, it's losing a lot. I remember I went listening the Valkyrie from the Met in 2010, and I went to the Finkino. So I sat down, and it was the time I was exchange student. I went listening between 2 and 4 concerts a week. Sometimes 2 times Hoko, if they play double concert with a good program, I wanted to listen 2 times. I went 2 times, and to the opera and chamber and etc. So I was sitting in that cinema theater, and it started, and I was like, what is that shitty sound? And thankfully, the Valkyrie is so long opera. Then, you know, after half an hour, there is still 3 hours or 3.5 hours left. And then, you know, you kind of forget that aspect. But in the beginning, it was sounding like rude to my ears. And so this said, the second point of this internet concert is that more it goes, more I enjoy the live concerts. Because a recording, it is not live. There is something, in my point of view, that we lose when we make a recording, like, you know, small or bigger section, and then correct the few wrong or bad notes or whatever the thing that we are not happy with. And live concert have something there is not in a studio kind of recording. So of course we can have online concert which are live, but how can you be really certain that it's like that, apart if it's a stream?
You're making the argument I heard very long time ago from conductor Sergiu Celibidache, which was that no matter how good the equipment is, you're still going to have certain frequencies that are not going to be caught by the equipment, and therefore it's not going to be the exact same sound. But in the same time, I guess we could get to some point to some technology that, I don't know, I guess captures, no, I'm making this stuff up, but I mean, I guess we could come to a point where technology is so good that we can, like, it's better than our ear even, and then it gives it very nicely to our ears. So that's actually not necessarily my problem. But my problem is that you don't have the communication anymore. Like when you sit in the concert hall, you feel that maybe it sounds poetic, but I feel that I have a relationship with the orchestra. Whereas if I'm in front of the TV screen, I don't feel that anymore. I think that's for me the biggest difference between an online concert and a live concert at the concert hall. Nicolas.
Yes, of course, the equipment and technology, I'm also sure that we can get like close enough that can we recognize it or not from this. But when you sit in a concert hall, like let's say in Lahti, which has the very fantastic, I don't know how many thousands of cubic meter there is in there and how many cubic millimeters there is in this. Like how can you get like that deepness or whatever you call it? I don't know. Also in Turku, I mean, we go to the hall and that you can really feel the tuba. You cannot only see and hear it, but you can feel it. This is
that was exactly the point I was going to add. I mean that like the physicality of the sound is totally different if you listen it from earphones, or if you listen from even smaller plugs, or if you listen it from speakers, or if you listen it in the same physical space when the sound is produced. It's just a different phenomenon.
I think that couple that I met in the village that came to the concert every week, they also did feel that you know, we have like okay loudspeakers from the TV and so on, but it's not the same. And I think this is part of the thing that is like really missing. But of course, online concert has also this richness that you can listen to any orchestra from Aura or from Lahti or from what is it, the place where Matei you are teaching this. Anyways, yeah, Kankaanpää. I did win a cycling competition there.
Yes, I know.
So
there are all sorts of competitions here that I know nothing about, and I just know that I can't get to the shop anymore, and then I have a problem.
But so this brings that you can listen to Berlin or New York or where from, and this is also very interesting. I think it's a richness that was maybe not available 50 years ago, or not that easily at least. So no. I think that the online concert has a really big future anyways.
Hannaliisa.
Yeah, so I think they're just two different things. And in this very special era, and for some people anyway, of course, it's always like a substitute. But it will never be the same, of course. Then from my own perspective, I've also been sitting, for instance, in Helsinki Musiikkitalo and feeling very frustrated because I don't like what I hear. I would like to try some other seats, maybe make it better that way. But still, I mean, it's a different thing. I think from our audience, a lot of people were just so very happy that we put so much stuff on the internet, and they could even have their very traditional May Days concert and stuff like that. But it's and some of this, I think, I don't know, of course it's always like personal how you experience stuff, but I think it was also in some ways it was really in a good way homemade, and you could feel that even though we didn't have the audience there, it was really made for them, and under the circumstances, I mean, not having our own hall, and also like we had some of our own musicians telling about the pieces, and like I think there was some warmth in it anyway, and the audience really loved it. But then they of course also say that it's never the same than live. And then, well, also I think it was a good kind of, how do you say, I mean, you start seeing things from a different point when the audience is cut away from your life for some time. Like, and for me, I'm not always sure if it's my friend or what it is, the audience. Like I'm really good at being really frightened at stage. Maybe not in our, I mean, of course there's this routine and everything, but if it's more about being a soloist or whatever very exciting happening that I've been preparing very much for, then it's always very, very exciting for me. So now actually, then when you go there for the first time in August, we were playing as a trio in Metsähalli, which is also a pretty big space in Sibelius Hall. So you could see the faces, and then you could actually see that they just loved being there, and there was this real connection. So yeah, it's a completely different kind of thing. Also, now that there are so many empty seats anyway, I feel like you start getting this different kind of relationship with the few people you can see from your place. It's like, oh, my people. It's like, oh, these persons who came. But yeah. And one thing I wanted to say, this is going back to my visions of a future without these traditional desks. It was my honest opinion. I think I just felt like I have to be careful and add that it's my own opinion. And probably there are also musicians who feel that they want to sit together the same way. Or maybe they feel, I mean, of course, there are these difficulties, but maybe they feel that that's the only way you can feel the similar kind of connection with your desk mate and as a group. I would think that if you just pack yourself a little tighter, you could still have your own music and place and feel the connection. But yeah, so probably that is something like it's interesting to be able to see the other concert halls, and with this modern technology you can even pick up some nice fingerings from your very favorite players in the other orchestras. Then it's the other things would make you to watch that. I like watching football. I think it's weird watching football not having the audience there then. It will be interesting for me to go once or twice, really experience the live thing when it's possible again.
I have done it once, and believe me, it was terrible. But
yeah.
but it was, I went, okay, I did not choose the match well. I remember it was the first year I was in Finland. I went to watch Finland versus Poland. It ended 0-0, and it was terrible. And I even saw the news, like because I read Eurosport, and it was like, the title was like, in one of the most boring matches of the day, Finland drew with Poland on home soil. So I was like, never again. Hannaliisa.
Add to this that actually I remember that I went to a football match here in Lahti because we had this deal with a team that they would come to our concert and we would go there, and it was fun. I mean, really, it was interesting. What I would maybe still want to experience more, that would be a match where when it's like no empty seat anywhere, and maybe some huge crowds of fans singing these songs and all these stuff, because here that was maybe a little minimal. But yeah, I think that would be a different thing. Still, it's nicer to watch skiing and stuff from TV.
Yeah.
I think this all comes up to the social aspect, the communication, because even if you're even if you're following a stream or even a video recording, you know, if you see that somebody's there and somebody's communicating, somebody's having fun, I think it's a totally different thing than if you just see people doing things in very, you know, seriously and without, you know, without the normal human aspect of the social communication. This maybe brings me to a question that we have maybe a bit touched here and there during this wonderful discussion, but I think I would just like to ask it kind of straight away from you. What's the thing that you love most in music? What's the thing in music that keeps you going, even if the circumstances around it are bad, even if you're in a bad physical position, or even if you don't hear your friends, or even like, what's the essence of music to you? Maybe Hannaliisa can start because you're already in the talking mood.
Now the philosophy in my head sank into some depths, and then I'm like, oh, what to answer to this question? I don't know. It's something very deeply rooted, but I feel like you just always try to make it the best you can. I think it's because of the music, because there's this respect for it always. Then there are things like, as an orchestra, whatever it is what we are performing, and with whoever, we're as good as our last performance. So I don't know, it's just stays there. I think very rarely it feels like it becomes this very hard burden you are just trying to drag somewhere. More often it's going into it and doing everything you can. Also, I don't know, it's just a privilege trying to produce as good sound as possible. And there's always a possibility that you can actually live the moment together, which is then the magic happening. And it's not all the time there, but I guess you have to stay in some way open to let it happen then. So I think for me, it never was really a question of becoming anything else in life but a musician. So one thing about, I don't know, now this is stupid, it breaks this whole thing.
We like stupid.
Yeah, just go ahead.
So nice. I found my company. About the recordings and how Nicolas mentioned the patches, like how you might like try to correct things afterwards and stuff. I think making like albums, recordings is a different story. But for instance, our live recordings are never patched. It's just what it is. Like it's the concert from the beginning till the end, and that's it. Yeah. Thank you.
How about Nicola?
For me, it's very much different, because when I was a small boy, I was just enjoying life, and I played the baritone as a harrastus, and that was it. And when I did work as a mechanic for, I don't remember how many years, but then when I did my first full-time mechanic job, then I noticed that I will not be able to do that for 40 years. And I was kind of an okay baritone player, and then I took the audition at the Geneva Conservatory on the baritone for the tuba class, and I went in, and then I got my first tuba on the legs when I was 21, and then you just suddenly realize what it is about, and then you just practice your ass off, and then you are lucky like I am, and you get the job. But the thing that made me really want to become a musician is not only because I was bored as a mechanic. Of course, I'm pretty sure I could have gone in some watch company or something like that to make some nice watches. It would have probably worked in a way. But I really noticed what was the best feeling when you're a musician is that there is 1,000 or 2,000 people in the hall, and they came to listen to the concert in which you play for. There is that excitement, there is that kind of communication with the hall and with the audience, and this kind of excitement because of the audience and etc. This doesn't happen when you do video recording of the chamber music. I mean, I made many of them, at least 2, 3, 4 maybe, and I could remember that I arrived in the hall, and then I was having my black suit, whatever, and then I took the tuba and start to play. I felt, oh shit, this is never going to be the same, because there is the thing that when there is the audience, you have only one shot, and even the chamber stuff, we had a very tight schedule and so, but we could always play most of it we could play it once or maybe twice. If there was a big catastrophe, we could correct it, and then you look at how it is on that video, and then you see that there is this, and then comes a small cut, and then there is that piece, and so on. You play in the order you want, because of course we had a very kind of tight chamber stuff and so on. And I felt that when we could play again chamber music in front of audience, like for real, live and etc., I really felt what it is about. And I remember that it's the one thing that made me maybe motivate to practice a lot to become a musician, because there is that thing that everyone waits for, and it's at least on the tuba, because I'm alone to play what I play, and it's on me. There is that kind of I don't know if it's pressure or what, but there is that thing that makes you
excitement.
Yes, to play every time like better than the previous time, and etc. And now that we have got to play the brass ensemble stuff and etc., also in front of a reduced audience, the first concert, it was it was incredible. It was like, I don't remember how I did that 1 year ago. We were doing the same kind of stuff, and it was like, oh shit, what's happening? Just, you know, breathe well and let it go, and it will go. Somehow, you know, there is all the small excitement that makes it very difficult, because I already managed to forget how it was to perform. But the fact, like, to perform is the thing that makes it that you want to continue, because, you know, of course now it's bad and it will go on for I don't know how long, but we know that we will be able, it will come back to the normal, and the fact to the performance that we were having before. This is what keeps you like alive, kind of, because when you perform and you have big solo or something and you shit in your pants and you must still play well, you feel alive. That's the thing which is great. Like when I my first orchestra experience was when I was it 19 or 20? I was still playing the baritone, and I went listening, of course, to concerts, but I never like sat in the orchestra. And we played the Mussorgsky Ravel pictures, and I played just the solo, you know, the bidlo. I was shaking that much that I could see my shirt shake. I was so nervous. You know, I played in village band and brass bands, and we had audience like between 100 and 200 people, like at the maximum. And then I went in Geneva in the Victoria Hall. I don't know, is it there 1,800 or something? And it was full house. Then it comes at the basses and the cello start boom, bim, bum, and then you must play, and everything is shaking and the horn is like frozen. And somehow I cannot explain why, but this is the thing that makes.
And in that moment, you are like, "This is what I want to do for me."
In that moment, I was thinking like, "Shit, why I am here?" But then after it, you know, there is some kind of I don't know, energy or something that stays, and then you say, "Wow, that was like, I don't know, I dream to skydive, you know."
You like adrenaline?
Really, yes, like this is amazing. And of course, then when you become a professional, you get used to that and etc. But I played as a soloist a couple of years ago with the orchestra. I got same kind of feeling, and somehow it's like you never get that feeling. When I was a mechanic, you know, on the machine turning, computer controlled, making programs, and then just keep, like, you never get that kind of adrenaline shot. You just do the thing, and that's it. In the worst case, you get nervous because if you made a mistake, of course, you can crush the whole thing, but it's not the same kind of nervousness, you know.
Yeah, for sure it's not. I wanted to say that I think it's quite an extraordinary story. I had no idea that you were a mechanic, and yeah, to do that and then become a tuba player who plays in professionally in an orchestra and has a full-time job. It's quite remarkable, I must say.
But I did play the baritone, this euphonium, like 14 years, 15 years before. Of course, it's not. It's this. Basically, it's the same thing, just bigger.
Sure, but still, like it's it's not what most paths look like, I think.
I guess it's the normal thing in let's say, of course it depends a lot of the instrument, and I guess your story is something that is, well, maybe not typical, but let's say more possible or more likely for the brass players than, let's say, for the violinists or pianists who probably have started at the age of 4 and being just in the practice room from that. Or what are you, or what's your experience, Hannaliisa?
Well, I started when I was 5, and it took so long time, an eternity, before I turned 5, because my parents decided that I'm not allowed to begin before that. My father is a musician, and I have several years older siblings who already played, so life was full of music already before I was born. So I think that was just the only thing. I thought, obviously I will start playing the violin, but there must have been something about string instruments in general, like, and also I had difficulties explaining my teacher why the violin, and I think actually it was just that we also went to the concerts and I could hear the symphony orchestra, and that was actually it. And also like hearing the string sections together, I think that is for me something amazing, and how much you can do with those instruments. And and maybe not so much always the one violin, but the violin world is a little bit well, it's very violinistic, so you have to also swallow your soloistic studies to be able to then finally hit the orchestra. But yeah, I don't know. Then of course I had to have my crisis around 20 when I realized that there's this world and I'm just playing this violin, and then I don't know, figure out for half a year, like, is there anything else I would try? Yeah.
But no,
I think this was a good choice.
Yeah, it's just interesting. Like, I don't know if there's a need to go too deep in that, but you know, I always kind of both admire and kind of to some direction envious and to some direction kind of, no, that's not my thing, towards those like violinists or pianists who really kind of can focus to the boring practicing that much. I think the one reason why I came a bassoonist and a composer and a music theory teacher is that I like to do my own stuff that much, and I'm not that interested in just doing the little thing that much. I started with violin, by the way, but then I stopped it at the age of 12 because I couldn't have become a violinist. So I just admire you all violinists in the world.
Well, I had the same experience that I was playing piano and I was like, oh man, I have to do this like every day, at least 3-4 hours. Like, no way. And I think composing at least offered the feeling that you're working on different subjects all the time. That now you're doing some composing, now you're doing some harmony exercises, now you're doing some counterpoint exercises, now you're like doing some theory, and all these subjects come together to help you compose. And when I do have the chance to compose all day, I find it very demanding, like to work 6-8 hours on something to do with composing. It's I'd like to have a diverse, let's say, musical life. So I cannot imagine how it is to play orchestra for 4 hours, 5, 6, whatever the rehearsals take, and then go home and practice more. I don't imagine how that goes. But
for me, it's maybe kind of a bit different angle. For me, it's maybe that it's not difficult to focus to one thing at one sit for a long time. I could totally work on 10 hours. And after that, I would just collapse because I have not eaten. I haven't even gone to the toilet. But well, of course, with a wind instrument, you cannot do that. Your lips say you're quite quickly that you need a break. I mean that as a composer, I can have a one day like that. And after that, I can be, dead for a couple of days and do something else. But if I'm an instrumental player, I just can't do that because I have to have the routine all the time to have the technique fit. So when I do performance, it's kind of, actually now when I'm adult, it's kind of nice to have this kind of little masochism that every moment if I'm training for a gig, I start with this and I play with my bassoon and bit by bit I make my skills working, and then when it comes to the show I can be like, oh yeah, now I'm a rocker and I can just do whatever I want. But it's, I don't know, it's completely a different world, like what kind of how the workflow goes mentally. Yeah, I guess it must be possible to have really many kinds of workflows.
For me, it was very difficult to motivate myself to play piano every single day of my life. Like, and you knew that if you're not playing one day, you're gonna feel it. And you knew that the 20 minutes practice, it's not gonna do it. And a bad day or like a very good day without piano was maybe just playing half an hour or 1 hour, let's say. But I just couldn't have like 2 days off per week and then play the other ones. Like, and I think nobody does that. So for me, that was mentally very boring to know that I have to do this every day, no matter what.
How does this composer shit sound to you, who actually do living by performing?
Well, if I may start.
Go ahead.
Well, I'm not one of those violinists who really love to, I don't know, for whom their violins are really so much toys that they like to use their spare time with them too. Or like, I mean, I like my holidays, and I can practice easily more than my body can actually take. I think there are also some statistics that show that after 4 hours per day, injuries are much more already. So you have to know how to have your breaks, and also of course it depends on what kind of stuff you are practicing. But I need to have a goal. It's good to have a concert coming. Then of course I also really appreciate the long summer holiday. I can actually have a holiday, and then I have some weeks when I only concentrate on the very basics.
Mm.
And of course, then there's no immediate concert coming, but I don't know, it's like meditation, maybe more like that. And I guess something that just carries is that you've been doing it already, and there's this mountain as a base already, like you wouldn't want to throw that away. I love being so closely in contact with producing the sound. Maybe that's one thing for me. Just like, it's like handiwork also, not just something to do with some abstract stuff, but actually also everything about how you make the sound happen and what kind of sound it becomes is, to me, very dear. And I thought it would be for everybody, but only then later it turned out that I'm in some ways maybe a little bit sound obsessed person. I could tell one lovely thing about my orchestra. I was just talking with our manager, and then only later I realized that he had been given this award for, I don't know how it should be translated, but it was about our work community and developing it during the spring. And it was directly about what the corona stuff happened. I mean, it was given by the city. There were 3 other delingen. other groups in the city organization, one school and some other who also got it. But I think it was a good thing. And I think while we also try to keep the Thursday evening concerts happening online, we also, I don't know, we did some stuff for children, and the city actually ordered some so-called like sounding postcards from us from like different points in the city. And well, there was a cycling day and whatnot, but still it was like I think it was a really nice gesture from our city that they actually so well acknowledged that we actually were still there, and for them especially. And yeah, of course we were all part of it, but it was also, I think, pretty amazingly organized by our office. Like, and then we could all actually use whatever skills we had, and not just how you handle your instrument.
Guys, thank you very much for this really lovely discussion. I hope that whoever listens to our podcast will get more valuable insights on what it is to be an orchestra musician, what it is to be a musician, what are the challenges and new challenges for orchestra musicians during this pandemic time. I want to thank both of you, Hannaliisa and Nicola, for taking part in our Key Culture podcast. Thank you also, Niilo. And everybody, keep tuned to Key Culture podcast. Have a great day, everybody.
Have a nice time.
Oh.
Thank you.